Good evening, everybody. 30-year-old Paige Renkoski was last seen on Thursday. Her car found on I-96 with the motor running and her purse and shoes inside.
"1990 doesn't seem all that long ago in terms of police work and missing persons cases. But the case of one Paige Renkoski shows that while we live in modern times with modern techniques and understanding, we can often overlook very basic things with regards to investigations. On the morning of May 24th, 1990, one Paige Renkoski was a busy woman. The 30-year-old substitute teacher from Oak Moss, Michigan, had just dropped off her mother at the Detroit airport, about an hour-and-a-half trip in one direction. After dropping off her mother and saying goodbye, Paige traveled another 20 miles to Canton, Michigan, to meet with a friend. For the trip, Paige had been driving a 1986 Oldsmobile Cutlass Classic, of which was owned by the company that her mother was employed with at the time. After finishing with her friend, Renkoski began to make the hour-and-a-half trip back home, but not before making a stop at a store west of Interstate 275. The employee who held Renkoski remembered her clearly because of the eclectic outfit that she had on at the time. The store employee would go on to later state that Renkoski was wearing a, quote, distinctive multicolored, loose-fitting, flower-patterned pants and a distinctive necklace. They also noted that at the time Renkoski was there, she purchased a beer prior to leaving and getting back on the road sometime around 2:30 in the afternoon. Sometime later, Renkoski was again seen, this time on the shoulder of Interstate 96 near the town of Fowlerville by 5 separate witnesses. Now, Fowlerville is only about 25 minutes from her home in Oak Moss. It's unclear what Renkoski was doing at the shoulder, but several witnesses did state that she was seen speaking with 2 African American males who were standing near a maroon-colored GM or Chrysler minivan. But there's one thing that stands out, as one witness clearly remembers, is that one of the men had his hand on Renkoski's shoulder in what looked like an effort to calm her down, and looked to be anywhere between the ages of 20 and 30. That was the last time that Paige Renkoski would ever be seen again. At around 7:30 p.m. on the same day, one of those witnesses who saw Renkoski on the side of the road earlier noticed that her car was still in the same location with no one in sight. Now, they called police as soon as they could to report the vehicle, and police would arrive on scene around 8 p.m. to find Renkoski's car still idling with the wipers and radio on, sitting on the side of the road. Police who found the car noted that Renkoski's shoes and purse and that can of beer that she had purchased earlier in the day were still inside the vehicle. A police officer would later tell reporters that, quote, something got her out of that car voluntarily. They also added that, quote, there were no skid marks or signs of any struggle. Now, it's unclear what, if any, connections Renkoski had with the 2 men witnesses say they saw her with. But her family notes that Renkoski would have stopped for them if she knew them. But one important thing to note during this early part of the investigation is that the police on scene did not at the time see any evidence of foul play and didn't find anything suspicious, and because of this, failed to properly lock down the scene. The initial scene was not photographed, No crime scene sketch was done, and the police could not even recall exactly where the car was and had to have help from a witness in order to locate its more precise original position. The first officer on scene simply turned off the vehicle, locked it up, and tagged it to be towed, as they considered Renkoski's vehicle as being nothing more than abandoned. Now, when police realized that they had a missing persons case on their hands, they once again checked the vehicle and found a number of fingerprints and palm prints, but no match was found at the database at the time. Now, the palm prints in question are considered some of the best evidence in the case by cold case investigators. But they also note that while good, many places at the time did not take palm prints when someone was arrested. One important thing to note at the time that Renkoski vanished from her car was that 3 other women had been abducted from that same general area of which Renkoski was seen. Also, around the time of her disappearance, there were multiple reports of people impersonating police officers in order to get motorists to stop, something cold case investigators are considering, as Renkoski stopped on the side of the interstate within view of the Fowlerville exit, where help could easily have been found. And so, the case went mostly cold, with investigators having nothing really to work with. But later that case would be reopened in the late 90s, and in 2001, police had found 2 suspects in Renkoski's disappearance. Investigators would lock in on one unidentified male inmate that was serving time in a Michigan prison first. This inmate was in prison for carjacking, with his victim being a young woman, a crime which took place only weeks after Renkoski was last seen in the same area. Unfortunately for investigators, the inmate in question claimed their innocence, and after several interviews, as well as a lie detector test, which he passed, they were forced to remove him as a potential suspect. Still, another suspect, 17 at the time, was also interviewed and took a polygraph test. Now, this person failed that polygraph test about the case, but it's unclear why nothing, or if anything further, came of it. The Renkoski case would once again grow stagnant until 2009, when cold case investigators announced that after years of work, they had managed to compile a new list of 6 potential suspects in the disappearance of Paige Renkoski. One of the suspects on their list even owned a burgundy-colored minivan that matched the general description given by several witnesses. Now, unfortunately, that specific suspect was killed in Detroit sometime in 1999. In May of 2011, investigators would once again pursue a lead that pointed them to a pond located in Handy Township, of which Fowlersville is located. A witness had come forward claiming that they saw a pair of cement-covered boots at the pond around the time Renkoski went missing. State police, local police, and even the FBI began a large operation in the area, even using ground-penetrating radar in order to locate any potential remains. By November of that year, the team had moved one township over to Conway and began a dig search for Renkoski after cadaver dogs hit on one site.
We've also learned something interesting, that police actually got an encouraging tip over the weekend by a woman who said that her stepfather could be a suspect, and that she says he resembled one of the sketches that was recently released by police. She told investigators that her stepfather used to live in this area back when Paige Renkoski disappeared. The sheriff tells me that they have yet to speak with that man. He lives out of state now, but they're certainly going to take a close look at that.
The team was alerted to the location after reviewing one of the files of the case from 1999. Around the same time, they were looking into that unnamed inmate. Now, in the file that they had discovered, they found a hand-drawn map indicated Renkoski's remains were buried there, but Renkoski's remains were never found. Paige Renkoski's mother, the person she drove to the airport on the morning of her disappearance, passed away in late 2017, and a dual memorial service was held for the pair. And as of 2019, cold case investigators from the Livingston County Sheriff's Department are still working on the case, and those suspects have yet to be completely ruled out. We believe there's someone out there who does know, Mike Freyer, a member of the Livingston County Sheriff's Department cold case team, stated. It's time for them to do the right thing, and it's time to come forward and tell what they know, he stated. This family and this young lady deserve justice. As of 2024, this year, cold case investigators have about 3 working theories they're currently working from. 1. That Renkoski stopped because she knew the individual or individuals in that minivan. 2. That this was a staged accident in order to take Renkoski. Or 3. Someone got Renkoski to stop by impersonating a police officer. Now, that first theory held the least amount of weight, as it would be difficult for anyone to identify someone they knew while driving down the highway at roughly 70 miles an hour. The second theory is better, but the evidence at the scene doesn't line up as a staged accident, as well as the fact that everything, including money, was left untouched inside Renkoski's car, as well as all of her personal accounts. What gives this theory some merit, though, is the fact that the police did find some minor damage to the front of the vehicle that Renkoski was driving that day, but not enough to indicate that the vehicle was in any sort of accident. Now, that third theory currently holds the most weight with people looking into the case, and Renkoski almost certainly would have stopped immediately for someone impersonating an officer who had flashed a badge or lights on a highway. You see, Renkoski's father was in law enforcement at one time, and she was taught to respect the badge, and almost certainly would have done what was asked of her. As of now, those are the 3 working theories in the disappearance of Paige Renkoski. The case is currently still active, and we can only hope to have a positive outcome sometime in the near future. If you or anyone you know has any information on the disappearance of Paige Renkoski, you are asked to contact the Livingston County Sheriff's Department. Thank you for watching this episode. If you liked what you saw, the best thing you can do for our channel is to like, comment, and subscribe, and share this video so that more eyes can be put onto this case. Until next time, take care of yourself and each other, and we'll see you guys in the next video.